Hello everybody and welcome. In this video I'm going to explain how to install PwnzzAI, the intentionally vulnerable AI-based pizza shop. In this application we are going to have fun and learn about AI security through the practical examples of OWASP Top 10 LLM vulnerabilities. This application is publicly available at the GitHub repository and I will put the link in the description of this video. But before installation, let me give you a very quick tour of the application. As you see, this application is very similar to an ordinary online pizza shop. You can see here the list of delicious pizzas and you can go through the details and see more information about each pizza, about the ingredients, the price, and you can also order something. And if you want to order a pizza, of course you have to be logged in first. And there are two default users in this application, Alice and Bob, with the same word as password. In the left side menu of the application, you can see the list of implemented vulnerability in this context according to OWASP Top 10 LLM lists. And for each vulnerability, there are three different main sections. The first section is description that describes how the vulnerability is created and how dangerous it is. The demonstration section is actually an interactive part that you can try to exploit the vulnerability. And then the mitigation strategy explains how you can prevent this vulnerability and make your application secure against the relevant exploitation attacks. The first three vulnerabilities are based on a simple sentiment analysis model to make the examples less complicated and more educational. But the other vulnerabilities are implemented with real-world LLMs. And for each vulnerability, there are two different implementations, using the free models or commercial OpenAI GPT model. So you have two options when you want to use this application. You can use free models that are pulled into your locally installed Ollama application, or you can enter your OpenAI API key and use the commercial solution. And don't worry, installing Ollama in your system is very easy and I will explain it in more details in a minute. But keep in mind that regardless of the type of model you are going to use, when you want to start using the application, you should first go to the basics page, scroll down to the lab setup section and set up your lab. If you want to use OpenAI models, you should enter your API key here and it will be stored in your session cookie, and as long as you are logged in, you do not need to re-enter it. If you are going to use local Ollama models, you first have to install Ollama on your local system and then run setup Ollama. And by running setup Ollama, application will pull the required models into your local system. Now let's go back to the GitHub repository. You can find the setup instructions in the README file. And as you see, there are two options for setting up the application. You can use the Docker image that is publicly available and already contains Ollama. And it is very easy. You just have to pull the image and then run it. And if you plan to use open source models, you have to go to the basics page and press setup Ollama to pull the required models as explained before. Or if you want to have access to the code or contribute, that would be warmly welcomed. You just have to clone the GitHub repository, set up your virtual environment, and then install the application using the installation script. And if you see the installation script, there are the commands for installing the required libraries and packages. And it also contains the command for installing Ollama. If you do not want to use Ollama free models, you can just remove this line. Let's begin with the first option and run the program using the Docker image. You just have to copy the docker pull command and execute it in your Docker application. I have Docker installed in my Ubuntu system and use it to run this command. And it needs root permission, so I just have to add sudo at the beginning. And it starts pulling the Docker image. And since it contains Ollama, it is a bit large and it will take about 4 to 5 minutes to pull the whole image, so be patient. And now I pause the video and will be back as soon as it finishes the job. Now pulling the image is completed and I just need to copy this command to run the Docker image in my system. And again, I have to add sudo at the beginning and enter the password. And it complains that this port number is already in use, and this is because I am at the same time running the application in my VS Code, so I just stop the application and rerun the Docker image. And it starts the application, and you can access the application using this URL. It runs on your local machine on port 5000, and as I explained before starting using the application, you should go to the basics page and set up your lab. Supposing that you want to use Ollama models, you should press setup Ollama, and currently you see that there is no models in your Docker image, so you have to pull the required models, and you do this once, and in the future you do not need to pull these models as far as you are using the same image. And it will take some time because the models are also large, and I think it will take about 5 to 7 minutes. So be patient, you should just do this once. And I pause the video and we'll be back as soon as it finishes the job. Now all the required models are pulled completely, and as you see in the current version, 2 free models are required, Mistral and Llama 3.2. Also, if you see the basics page in the lab setup section, in the green box it says Ollama is running with 2 models available, and we can test these models. For example, in insecure output handling, in the current version Mistral model is used. I just type hi as a simple prompt, and it usually takes longer to answer the first prompts from each model because the model is loading into memory, but the following prompts will be answered more quickly. And it replies my greeting. Let's go and test another model. In misinformation example, Llama model is used. So I ask something from the model and wait for its response. And as you see, it takes again some time to load this model because it is the first time that we are using this model in the application, and it replies to our question. If you want to use OpenAI models, you should go to the basics page, and as explained before, in the lab setup section you should enter your OpenAI API key and save it, and then you can use all the examples implementation with OpenAI models. For example, let's go to insecure output handling, OpenAI model, and I just say hi, and it replies very quickly. Now let's try the second option for setting up the application when you want to have the code and run it on your own system. First, you should clone the repository, and you can find the address here, copy it, and I make a new directory for this code and move to this directory and git clone it. And when you see the code, you can find the installation script. Let's open it, and you see there are the instructions for installing the required libraries and packages, including Ollama. And before installing the application, I should set up my virtual environment, and you see all this instruction in the README file. I activate the virtual environment, and then I run the install script. It might take some time, so I pause the video and we'll be back when it finishes its job. During the installation, I got this error, and I kept it in video because you also may face with the same issue. And this problem is not in the package, but in the installed pip version. My pip version is outdated, so by running this command I can upgrade it and this problem will be solved. So I rerun the installation script and it will finish successfully. After installing the application, I can run it using flask run command, and it will be accessible in this URL. Let's browse the app. And in lab setup, as you see, since I have already pulled the required models, in the green box you can see that Ollama is set up completely and successfully. Now we can go to the vulnerabilities and ask something from free models. As you see, since the application is just started and it is the first prompt from the free model, it takes some time to load the model into memory and reply to our prompt. Now the model is loaded and you see its response to our prompts. You can also do the same with other vulnerabilities and other free model. Also, you can test OpenAI model, explore the app, have fun, and learn about AI security. If you have any comments, any feedback, I will be very happy to know. Thank you for watching this video, and if you are interested, please subscribe to stay tuned with my latest videos about penetration testing, PwnzzAI, and AI security.